My beloved one, I witnessed the moment your light began to dim, not suddenly, not with noise or finality, but with a soft, unnoticed shift. It didn't come crashing in like a storm. It crept in quietly, in whispers and sighs, as the world handed you burden after burden until you no longer recognized the sound of your own longing. You never declared out loud, "I've given up on myself." No, you just stopped reaching. You stopped imagining new beginnings. You stopped expecting joy to return. Instead, you adjusted. You adapted. You became someone quieter, smaller, more cautious. Someone who wouldn't draw too much attention or ask for too much. Someone who could get through the day without stirring the waters, and from the outside it may have looked like wisdom, like strength, like maturity, but I saw deeper. I saw the sorrow behind your smile. I saw how your dreams curled into silence beneath the weight of disappointment. You see, while you were learning to survive, you thought you had to shrink to do it. You thought you had to tone down your tenderness, tuck away your voice, wear masks of capability while your soul quietly wept for expression. And yes, you kept moving. You showed up. You loved others the best you could. But inside, you started believing that your time had passed, that someone else would carry the light you once held. But I never turned away. I never stopped seeing the fullness of who you are. Even as you looked into mirrors and saw someone faded, I beheld the fire that never went out. You thought the silence meant disqualification, that the pause meant the calling had been passed on. But I never withdrew what I placed in you. I never revoked the invitation. Even as you questioned yourself, I never questioned you. Even as you whispered prayers you weren't sure I still heard, I was there responding not to your perfection, but to your presence. Watching not for your performance, but for your return. Because I never asked you to be flawless. I never required certainty. I was never looking for polished. I was looking for honest, for real. For the unguarded, open-hearted version of you that once dared to believe you were made for more than simply enduring. You thought that because you felt uncertain, unmotivated, weary, that your worth had dimmed with your energy. But I never tied your value to how inspired you felt. I never tied your identity to how consistently you believed. My love was never fragile. My view of you was never performance-based. I see your pauses not as failure, but as sacred pauses. You called it giving up, I call it resting. You called it defeat, I call it realignment. Because sometimes before something new begins, something has to be laid down, not in shame, but in surrender. And you, beloved, were never broken. You were becoming. My dear one, there was a moment, perhaps more than one, when you silenced your own voice. Not because it wasn't true, but because it didn't feel welcome. You once had words that burned inside you like fire. Ideas, expressions, dreams, and they felt like part of who you were meant to be. But then came the disappointments, the rejection, the silence in return, and you learned slowly that perhaps your voice wasn't necessary, that maybe it was safer to remain quiet. I watched that silence settle in, not as punishment, but as protection. I knew why you did it. I knew the weight of disappointment you carried in your chest, the sting of not being heard, the pain of not being chosen, and even as you buried the songs in your soul, I never stopped hearing them. Even as you withheld your words, I never stopped remembering their melody. You see, beloved, I never asked you to silence yourself. I never asked you to tone down your wonder, your softness, your truth, in order to be acceptable. I never demanded that you become more palatable to others at the expense of your own peace. I simply wanted your heart, unedited, undiminished. But I saw how the world treated you. I saw how your passion was mistaken for neediness, how your truth was labeled as too much. So you learned to perform, you learned to please, you learned to fit in. And somewhere along the way, the you that once danced freely, painted boldly, spoke openly, began to disappear. You didn't stop believing in me. You stopped believing that I still believed in you. But I do. I still do. The real you, the one before the masks, before the adjustments, before the fear set-ins, still fully alive in me. She is not gone. She is not too far. She is not too late. And I'm calling her back now. Not to strive, not to prove, not to impress, but to simply be. This is not a calling to be more. It's a calling to return. Return to the purity of your first yes. The quiet conviction that told you, even as a child, that your presence carried meaning, that your sensitivity was not a flaw, that your voice had power, even if no one clapped. You thought you needed to be louder to be heard. You thought you needed to be tougher to be respected, but you were wrong. What I gave you, your tenderness, your softness, your stillness, was never a liability. It was the gateway to healing, for you and for others. Beloved, it's okay that you tried to protect yourself. It's okay that you stepped back. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to hide anymore. You don't have to apologize for how you were made. I don't want the edited version. I want the whole you. I want the one I designed with intention and breathed life into before anyone ever had the chance to name you too much or not enough. Let that girl rise again. Let her speak. Let her write. Let her dance without wondering who is watching. Let her rest without guilt. Let her take up space, not in arrogance, but in sacred confidence. Because she is mine, and I love her as she is. You thought the silence made you invisible, but I have seen you all along. You thought you had to fade in order to belong, but you already belong in me, and this is your homecoming. Beloved, there's something I need you to hear clearly, something that cuts through every whisper of shame, every voice that told you you're too late or you missed your chance. Listen to me now. You haven't missed it. Not the purpose, not the promise. Not the moment, not the meaning. You think because the world moved on, because others passed you by, that I must have moved on too, that perhaps I chose someone else, someone more consistent, more bold, more sure of themselves. But my ways are not like theirs. I don't choose like they choose. I don't compare like they compare. I never left the story I was writing in you. Even when you walked away in quiet disappointment, I stayed. Even when you stopped praying with passion, I listened with love. Even when you sat in silence, unsure if you mattered, I was right there, cherishing the weight of your presence. You thought your detour disqualified you, that your pause was a failure. But what if I told you the pause was preparation? What if the stillness you felt was not absence but alignment? You needed to be reminded of who you are without the pressure to perform. You needed to rest not just physically, but spiritually. To remember that your worth doesn't rise and fall with your productivity. You were never meant to earn your place here. You were born from my breath. You are sustained by my grace. And grace doesn't expire. You didn't ruin anything by needing to stop. You didn't fall behind. You didn't miss the window. In fact, you are exactly where I knew you would be, right here, right now, hearing these words at this precise moment. You see, I don't write stories with ink that fades. I don't base your calling on how motivated you feel. I don't tally your failures and hold them against your future. I'm not holding a clipboard, watching for flawless execution. I'm holding your heart, waiting for your surrender. You don't have to climb your way back to me. There is no ladder, no staircase, no performance review, just a return. A return to trust, to softness, to presence, to the quiet knowing that I still delight in you, not the version of you who has it all together, but the one who is open, who is honest, who is willing to begin again, not from scratch, but from sacred remembering. Remember who you were before the world told you to hide. Remember how you used to dream without shame. Remember how your joy used to lead you. That version of you, the pure, bright, unguarded soul, is not gone. She's just been waiting under the layers of pressure, the bruises of rejection, the weight of trying to hold it all together. I don't need her to be strong. I just want her to feel safe enough to return. This is not about rewriting the past. This is about reclaiming the pieces you thought you had to leave behind to survive. And no, it won't look the same as before. You're not the same person. But that's not a loss, it's a deepening. You now carry wisdom you didn't have, compassion you couldn't offer then, resilience that didn't come from striving, but from surrender. You've been learning how to be soft and strong, gentle and grounded, present and powerful. And that, beloved, is not weakness. That is glory. My precious child, let's walk again. Not in a rush, not to catch up, not to prove anything, but simply because your feet are ready to move again, not from pressure, but from peace. I know you've stood still for a long time, not because you were lazy, not because you didn't care, but because somewhere deep inside you questioned if it was safe to move. You wondered if your next step would lead to another fall, another disappointment, another dead end. So you waited. You stayed quiet. You made yourself small. You held your breath and hoped that time would offer answers. But time cannot heal what presence alone can restore. And I was always here, waiting not at the finish line, but beside you. You don't have to be ready to run. You just need to be willing to be right here, right now, as you are. Your next step doesn't need to be bold. It only needs to be honest. Not dramatic, just true. True to what brings peace. True to what brings life, true to what awakens the light in your eyes again. I'm not asking for a flawless plan. I'm not requiring that you never hesitate. I'm only inviting you to trust me enough to move even if you tremble, even if you're unsure, even if your voice still shakes when you speak up for yourself. Because this path is not being built as a test. It is being revealed as a gift. A gift for the you who dares to believe that your presence matters, that your joy is worth reclaiming, that your rest is sacred, that your softness is not a burden but a bridge for healing, for connection, for truth to be spoken without fear. And yes, I know the world taught you to be suspicious of softness, to toughen up, to carry more than you were ever meant to. But I'm teaching you something different now. I'm teaching you how to be rooted. How to stand without armor, how to speak without shouting, how to lead without losing yourself. This is your return not to who you were before the pain, but to who you are within it. The one who can now love with boundaries, serve without striving, give without self-abandonment, and rest without guilt. You don't need to rush back into what once drained you. You don't need to explain the peace you're choosing. You don't need to apologize for no longer fitting into places that celebrated your exhaustion. What I'm doing in you now is not for applause. It's for alignment. Not for performance, but for presence. Not to impress, but to embody the truth of who I've always known you to be. So come, walk with Meno to earn, but to remember. Not to chase, but to return. Return to rhythm. Return to peace. Return to the quiet confidence that you are deeply known, fully loved, and completely held. Not someday, not after the next breakthrough, but now, exactly as you are. Beloved, let's speak plainly because I know how long you've carried this without words. You have poured yourself out more times than anyone will ever know, quietly, faithfully, and often without being asked. You gave your time, your heart, your energy. You said yes, even when your soul whispered no. You stayed up late to comfort others, woke early to fulfill expectations, and somewhere along the way you stopped noticing that you were becoming empty. And when you finally paused, the world called it weakness, but I called it wisdom, because I never asked you to abandon yourself in the name of love. I never required your depletion as a sacrifice. I never said that strength meant carrying everything alone. That was never my voice. The truth is, you were giving from a place of survival, not from wholeness. You wore your compassion like armor, hoping it would protect you from feeling forgotten. You loved hard, hoping it would keep you from feeling unloved. You kept producing, hoping it would silence the voice that said, "You're only valuable when you're needed." But beloved, that voice was a lie. And now you're learning to hear something different, something softer, something sacred. My voice. The one that says, "You are not behind. You are not too much. You are not lazy because you need rest. You are not selfish because you said no. You are learning to give from abundance, not emptiness. You are learning to rest without guilt. You are learning to be present without pressure. This is what transformation truly looks like, not a flashy change, not a viral testimony, just a quiet, beautiful internal shift from always reaching to finally receiving. And I want you to know this. I am filling you now, not with more to do, not with more people to please, but with my peace, with clarity, with stillness, with the kind of love that doesn't demand exhaustion in return. You don't need to earn this love. You just need to stay in it. You don't need to perform to keep it. You just need to breathe and trust that it's real, that it's for you, that you are allowed to be sustained. Let me be the source you return. Tow not your schedule, not the crowd, not the expectations of those who only know the version of you who never says no. That version is not your truth. That version was survival. But now you are safe. And when the old habits try to creep back in, when the tension starts whispering that you need to do more to be enough, remember this. You are no longer a vessel being drained. You are a vessel being filled. And what overflows from you now will be pure. Not pressured, not performative, just pure. Love that flows from peace. Kindness that flows from boundaries. Joy that flows from rhythm. Wisdom that flows from rest. You were never meant to burn out. You were meant to shine. You were never meant to carry what I didn't ask you to hold. You were meant to move in step with Maslow, steady, rooted. And now that you're learning how, everything begins to change, not just for you, but through you. My beloved, let me say this gently but clearly. You do not need to explain the peace you found. You don't have to justify why you've chosen rest over rushing. You don't need to convince anyone why you're no longer willing to carry what once consumed you. The truth is, this peace cost you more than anyone knows. It wasn't born in comfort. It wasn't handed to you in applause. It was forged in the quiet hours when no one was watching, when the world didn't understand, when you wrestled with the question, who am I if I'm not always helping, fixing, producing? And now that you've found the answer not in doing, but in being, I want you to protect it. Not with defense, not with loud declarations, but with presence. You don't have to explain why your pace is slower. You don't need to defend your softness. You don't need to offer proof that your boundaries are valid. You just need to live this truth quietly, steadily, consistently. You've spent so many years managing expectations, trying to avoid misunderstanding, trying to keep everyone comfortable, trying to hold peace for others while forfeiting your own. But now, you've turned toward a different truth. Real peace doesn't need to shout to be known. It doesn't seek approval. It doesn't require applause. It simply is. And now, you simply are. Unapologetically, gently, bravely. Let the world be confused if it must. Let some people pull away if they feel threatened by your change. Their confusion is not your burden. Their discomfort is not your calling. Your calling is clarity, alignment, stillness, truth. You are not here to explain your existence. You are here to embody my grace. And when the old patterns try to pull you back, when guilt whispers that you owe everyone an explanation, remember this. The healing I've done in you is not a performance. It's a posture. It's a way of being. It's the fruit of permission, divine permission to live differently now. Because you are different. Not in a way that distances you, but in a way that roots you deeper. Not in a way that isolates, but in a way that protects your sacred center. Not in a way that silences love, but in a way that finally makes it sustainable. And yes, people will notice. Some will feel safer around you. Some will walk away. Let both happen without panic. You are no longer responsible for holding every piece together. You are responsible for staying whole. You are responsible for remaining true. And truth does not explain itself. It simply stands. So when you feel the urge to over-explain, to soften your transformation, to make others more comfortable, pause. Breathe. Return. Return to the clarity I gave you. Return to the rhythm we've rebuilt. Return to the knowledge that I am not asking you to prove your healing. I'm asking you to protect it. Because this peace, it didn't come cheaply. It came through surrender, through release, through tears no one else saw. And now it's yours to carry, not with fear of losing it, but with reverence for how far you've come. So let the silence speak. Let your presence explain what words cannot. Let your peace enter rooms before you do. And let me be the voice that confirms, yes, this is the way. Walk in it. Beloved, I need you to know something you've doubted for far too long. You're already prepared. Not because you've mastered everything, not because you've reached some perfect spiritual status, but because you've decided you're not going back. You've decided the old version of you, the one who abandoned herself to keep the peace, who stayed quiet to avoid disruption, who overgave until she disappeared, is not who you are anymore. And that decision changed everything. You may not feel strong every day. You may still second-guess your instincts. You may still have moments of hesitation, but none of that disqualifies you. In fact, it proves you're paying attention. It proves you're no longer rushing blindly just to feel safe. You're walking with intention now. You've said yes not just to me, but to the version of yourself that reflects my heart most honestly, the version that is rooted, the version that is awake, the version that doesn't perform to be accepted, but simply exists in truth, knowing she is already loved. And yes, people may still try to read you through the lens of your past. They'll expect you to respond the way you used to say yes out of guilt, to suppress your truth in the name of peace. But you no longer carry that script. You've rewritten the terms of your presence. Now your yes is powerful because it comes from alignment, not obligation. Now your no is holy because it protects the peace I've entrusted to you. Now, your silence isn't emptiness, it's discernment. Now, your rest isn't laziness, it's obedience. And this is the you I've been waiting for. Not a flawless version, not a constantly cheerful one, but a present, real, rooted version who knows who she is and who she belongs to. You don't need more preparation. You don't need another plan. You don't need to fix what I never called broken. What you need is to continue to move from this sacred place of knowing rather than striving, to build from rest rather than fear, to lead from gentleness rather than control. You're not trying to prove anything anymore. You're simply being, and that is what makes your life powerful now. Not your productivity, not your platform, not your influence, but your presence. And that presence, beloved, speaks louder than any performance ever could. So when doubt knocks, and it will, when it says you're not ready or you should do more first, return to this truth. You are already prepared. You've been walking with me, step by trembling step, and that walk has been forming you in ways the world can't see. Let them wonder. Let them misunderstand. You don't have to rush to explain or translate your growth. You just have to live it. Live with peace. Live with joy. Live with discernment. Live like someone who no longer borrows their worth from others, because now you know the foundation is not external, it's internal, and I am that foundation. Beloved, let me lift a weight off your shoulders today, one that was never yours to carry. You were never meant to be everything for everyone. Not the fixer, not the answer, not the one who holds everything together when it's falling apart. Not the one who always says yes, always has time, always has energy, always puts others first. no matter the cost. That role does not belong to you. It never did. That was pressure, not purpose. That was fear of disappointing dressed as kindness. That was survival, not sacredness. You see, the enemy of your peace wasn't always chaos, it was constant responsibility. The subtle message that said, if you don't hold it all, everything will break. But I never asked that of you. I never created you to stretch beyond your soul's capacity. I never blessed the rhythm of depletion. I never celebrated burnout. And I never considered your worth equal to your usefulness. What I long for, what I've always asked for, is your faithfulness, not your everythingness. Faithfulness to me. Faithfulness to what I've whispered into your spirit. Faithfulness to the truth that peace is more sacred than performance. So if someone ever told you that your value lies in your ability to carry everyone else, I'm here to tell you the truth. Your value lies in the light I placed within you, the one that burns brighter when it's not buried beneath the weight of false obligation. And I know what you're thinking, but what will happen if I stop? What will they think? What will fall apart? Who will step in? Beloved, trust me, nothing that is truly yours will be lost when you honor your limits. What is meant for you will remain. And what was only held together by your exhaustion was never real peace anyway. You don't have to abandon love to protect yourself. You don't have to cut people off in order to breathe. But you do have to stop betraying yourself to make others more comfortable. That's not love. That's erasure. And I did not create you to disappear. I made you to be seen, to be present, to be free, to be whole. So from this day forward, let your yes be full of joy, not resentment. Let your no be full of clarity, not guilt. Let your service flow from abundance, no martyrdom. And let your life reflect the truth that faithfulness doesn't mean doing everything. It means doing what's yours, with heart, with honesty, and with me. You are not failing when you rest. You are not selfish when you say no. You are not weak when you ask for space. You are wise. You are healing. You are becoming whole. And I will continue to meet you in that wholeness, not to add more weight, but to show you how light it feels to walk in truth. My beloved, you may not have realized it yet, but something has shifted. You're no longer living in recovery mode. You're living in reality now, my reality for you. There was a time when every day felt like a battle, when you woke up bracing for pain, when your joy was cautious, your hope fragile, and your trust held together by threads. And that season mattered. I was there for every shaky breath, every quiet cry, every exhausted surrender. But that's not where you are anymore. You've crossed a threshold. You've entered a new space, not of perfection, but of presence. Not of endless fixing, but of faithful being. You are no longer managing your life in fragments, holding things together with invisible string, hoping no one notices how close you are to breaking. You've dropped that way of living. You've stopped measuring your worth by how functional you appear. Now you're choosing truth even when it's slow. Now you're honoring your energy even when it confuses others. Now you're living without explanation, not out of rebellion, but out of restoration. You don't need to hide behind performance anymore. You don't need to silence your needs to be accepted. You don't need to pretend that everything is fine just to keep the peace. Because now you are the peace. You are the truth. You are the clarity you once begged the world to give you. Let me be clear, this new way of living will feel strange at first. Because it's not frantic. It's not pressured. It's not full of constant noise and nervous energy. It's steady. It's quiet. It's deeply safe. You may even be tempted to question it, to wonder, is this too easy? Am I missing something? No, beloved, you're not missing anything. You're just no longer being driven by what once drained you. You're walking with me now, not at a sprint, but at a sacred pace. Not to catch up with anyone else's life, but to honor the rhythm I've given yours. You've stopped apologizing for needing space. You've stopped rearranging yourself to be acceptable. You've stopped shrinking so others can feel taller. And that's not pride, that's peace. You no longer live in fear of being misunderstood because you're no longer trying to explain what's holy to those who only speak the language of hustle. Now you know, truth doesn't argue, peace doesn't prove itself, and rest doesn't beg for permission. This is the life I've been leading you into, not one of constant striving, but one of constant knowing. Knowing who you are, knowing whose you are, knowing that my presence isn't just with you, 'tis forming you daily, gently, quietly, faithfully. You're no longer in recovery mode. You're in reality now, divine reality, where nothing is forced, where love is enough, where you no longer hide behind your capacity because you're finally living from your core, and it's beautiful to see. Beloved, let's talk about something sacred, something the world often overlooks, the language of healing. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's not a public declaration or a polished testimony. It's how you breathe slower now. It's how you no longer panic when plans shift. It's how you no longer shrink when someone doesn't understand you. It's how your no comes from a grounded place and your yes flows from peace. This is the language heaven understands. It's how your presence makes others feel safe, how you sit with people without trying to fix them, how you offer kindness without losing your voice, how your joy is no longer dependent on perfect circumstances. You've stopped chasing approval. You've stopped running from silence. You've stopped apologizing for needing time. And now you live in alignment. Your outside matches your inside. Your pace matches your truth. Your love no longer depletes you. It sustains you. That's what healing does. It closes the gap between who you are and who you show the world. It softens your edges without erasing your strength. It teaches you to hold your peace, not as something fragile, but as something sacred. And yes, some people will notice. They'll say, "You're calmer. You feel different. There's something about you." And that something is me alive in you, moving through your gentleness, your rhythm, your rest. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to prove it. You just have to keep living from it. Because this healing, this quiet revolution within you is not just for your comfort. It's your witness. It's how the world will come to understand that transformation isn't about striving. It's about surrender. You've become the proof. Not because you shouted it, but because you embodied it. You showed up differently. You chose softness when hardness was easier. You paused when urgency called. You protected your peace when chaos demanded your attention. And I was there in every decision, every pause, every sacred boundary. I was in the moments you walked away from what drained you. I was in the nights you let yourself rest without shame. I was in the yes you finally said to you. So don't be surprised when your presence starts to shift atmospheres. When people feel safe without knowing why. When your stillness speaks louder than their striving. That's not charisma. That's healing. That's me. And it's only the beginning. My beloved, you've come so far, not because you pushed harder, not because you finally got it right, but because you surrendered the belief that you ever had to perform for my love. Now you move differently. You speak differently. You see life with new eyes. Not because everything around you has changed, but because you have. This is what it means to walk in rhythm with me. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. It's not about impressing others. It's about being at peace within yourself. You used to live under pressure. Now you live under promise. You used to run on obligation. Now you rest in identity. The world may not always understand this change. They may look at your quieter pace and call it slowing down. But I call it alignment. I call it wisdom. I call it maturity. Because it takes great courage to choose clarity over chaos, to no longer explain what is sacred, to let go of old patterns even when they felt familiar. But this is what you've done, one choice at a time. One moment of courage after another. One quiet yes to your inner knowing. And every time you honored the peace I placed within you, you stepped deeper into who you truly are. So don't let fear trick you into thinking you've lost your fire. Your fire has simply become focused. It doesn't rage wildly now. It burns steadily, quietly, without needing to be seen. That's the flame I've been fanning in you all along. It's what gives you the power to say no when you used to say yes just to keep the peace. It's what gives you the courage to speak when your voice once trembled. It's what anchors you when uncertainty knocks. It's what reminds you you are not here to perform, you are here to reflect. Reflect my peace. Reflect my patience. Reflect my goodness. And that reflection isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention, but it draws hearts. It opens doors. It heals rooms. Because it carries something real me. So now when you make decisions, you don't need to justify them. You just need to ask, is this true to who I am now? And if the answer is yes, that's all the confirmation you need. Let others think what they will. Let their expectations fall away. Let the old systems collapse. You are not called to explain your alignment. You are called to embody it. Because truth doesn't argue. It simply stands. It simply moves forward. It simply is. And that's what you're doing now, living from a place of isness. Not what if, not maybe one day. But now, present, rooted, clear. You are not recovering anymore, you are becoming. Not for others, not even for a cause, but because you were created for it. You were created to walk this earth fully alive, not weighed down by old guilt, not haunted by should have, not shaped by fear, but awakened to grace, awakened to joy, awakened to truth. My beloved, take a deep breath right here, not because the journey is ending, but because you've arrived, not at a destination on the map, but at a deeper understanding of who you truly are. You are no longer seeking proof of your worth. You are being the proof. You are the evidence that restoration is possible. That stillness has power. That softness can be strength. That boundaries can coexist with love. That healing can be quiet and still be complete. You don't need a title to carry authority. You don't need a platform to shift atmospheres. You don't need approval to walk in clarity. Your peace is the platform. Your gentleness is the doorway. Your rest is the resistance. And your wholeness is the message. Everything you tried to be through striving, I am now revealing through your stillness. You thought healing would be a moment, but it became a way of life. You thought purpose would be a project, but it became the way you show up with love, with limits, with light that no longer flickers. You are the story I'm telling now, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've surrendered the need to pretend. And beloved, this is only the beginning, because the life you're living now is not borrowed. It's not held together by fear or performance or perfection. It is anchored in me, rooted in truth, protected by peace. So when the old voices return, the ones that say, you're not doing enough, not giving enough, not being enough, pause. And remember, you are not what you do. You are not what you produce. You are not how many people approve. You are mine. And that identity can never be shaken, never be revoked, never be replaced. I will continue to walk with you, not just when you feel strong, but especially when you feel small. I will meet you in your quiet moments, in your laughter, in your rest, in your presence. I am not waiting at the finish line. I am here in every breath, in every gentle no, in every soft yes, in every pause that protects your peace. You've come home to yourself, and in doing so, you've come home to me. So keep living, keep trusting, Keep being. Let your life speak softly but clearly, not to prove anything, but to remind the world of what is possible when someone lays down striving and picks up presence. You are the living testimony. You are the quiet revolution. You are my beloved, always, still, completely. Amen. Before you go, take a breath and leave a quiet amen below if this met you where you needed it most. Let this space be holy. Let it echo with rest. Let it remind someone else that healing is possible, that peace is a path, that love never left. Beloved, let me quiet your heart again. I see the way you're trying to hold on to everything you've gained, as if peace is something fragile, as if rest might slip away the moment you loosen your grip. But let me say this gently. You're not going to lose what's been restored. Healing is not a performance you need to sustain. It's not something you can do right or mess up. But it's not a fragile glow that fades if you don't protect it with perfection. It's deeper than that. It's steadier than that. It's truer than your fear, because healing wasn't something you created. It's something you received. It came not from your efforts, but from your surrender. Not from holding everything tightly, but from letting go of everything that wasn't yours to carry. And what was born from surrender will not vanish when you rest. Yes, you'll have days where the old patterns try to whisper again. Yes, doubt may circle back, dressed in different clothes. Yes, life will still be imperfect, uncertain, sometimes even painful. But that doesn't mean you failed. That doesn't mean the healing didn't last. That doesn't mean you're starting over. It just means you're human. And I never asked you to be more than that. I'm not watching for slip-ups. I'm not waiting for you to prove that you deserve this peace. I gave it freely. I planted it deep. And now it grows in you even when you're unaware. You don't have to live anxiously, always checking your spiritual pulse. You don't have to wake up wondering if the healing held. It did. It does. It will. Because it was never about your ability to maintain it. It was always about my ability to remain. So exhale. You're not being tested. You're being trusted. Trusted to live loved. Trusted to walk free. Trusted to make room for the you that no longer hustles for belonging. And when you feel fragile, don't fear the cracks. Come to me. Let me hold what feels unsteady. Let me remind you, what I started in you, I will finish. Not by force, but by faithfulness. My beloved, there's a kind of courage that goes unnoticed by the world. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't walk into rooms needing to be understood. It's the courage of someone who no longer fights to prove they're right, who no longer explains their boundaries, who no longer performs to be validated. It's the quiet courage of someone who knows who they are. And that someone is you. You've grown into a kind of strength the world doesn't always recognize. It's not the strength of always having the last word. It's not the strength of never breaking down. It's the strength of stillness, of restraint, of clarity, of choosing peace, even when you could choose noise. I've watched you stop reacting out of woundedness. I've watched you pause when you once would have pushed. I've watched you stay silent not out of fear, but out of freedom. Not because you had nothing to say, but because you no longer needed to say it. That's not weakness. That's wisdom, because you finally realized something powerful. You don't owe the world an explanation for your healing. You don't have to defend the calm I've placed in your chest. You don't have to convert your peace into noise for others to believe it's real. The way you hold yourself, now soft but solid, speaks louder than arguments ever could. Your life has become its own message, and that message is clear. I no longer abandon myself to be understood. I no longer trade my stillness to be accepted. I no longer shrink so others can stay comfortable. Beloved, that quiet confidence is sacred. Protect it. Nurture it. Don't let the world rush you back into noise just to feel seen. you are already seen. By me, entirely, deeply, constantly. And the ones meant for you, they'll see you too. Not because you shout, not because you hustle, but because your peace is unmistakable, because your spirit carries truth without performance. That's what I've built in you. Not the need to be heard, but the strength to listen. Not the need to convince, but the freedom to embody. So if others question your stillness, let them. If they misinterpret your silence, bless them. If they walk away from your softness, release them. You are not here to perform clarity. You are here to live it. And every breath you take in alignment with me is louder than anything you could ever say out loud. You are not silent. You are anchored. You are not passive. You are powerful in a way the world cannot define. And I'm proud of you. My beloved, you've been wondering, perhaps quietly, perhaps often, is what I'm doing enough? Is how I'm living really making a difference? Does my simple, quiet, peaceful life even matter in this loud, fast, ambitious world? Let me answer you clearly. Yes, it matters deeply. You don't need a stage to be significant. You don't need a platform to carry purpose. You don't need an audience to be anointed. Because impact in my kingdom is not measured by reach. It's measured by depth, by alignment, by faithfulness. And beloved, you have been faithful. Every time you chose peace over performance, you shifted something. Every time you honored your own truth without needing applause, you made space for others to do the same. Every time you rested without guilt, you broke a generational curse. Every time you were kind without condition, you invited heaven closer. You didn't need to announce it. You didn't need to dress it up. You simply lived. Honestly, humbly, gently. And that life, that simple, grounded, authentic life, it is already a light. You thought your influence would look like being known, but I designed it to look like being anchored. You thought purpose would look like public miracles, but I planted it in private moments, moments you thought no one noticed. I noticed. I saw the way you stayed when it was easier to leave. I saw the way you listened when no one else did. I saw the way you let go of what was familiar so you could honor what was sacred. I saw the way you held your peace in rooms that thrived on conflict. I saw the tears you didn't show, the courage you didn't name, the victories you never posted, and I smiled. Because this is what I meant when I said I would use you, not for performance, but for presence, not for noise, but for light. And that light doesn't flicker because you're tired. It doesn't go out when you rest. It doesn't depend on how many people see it. It depends on me, and I am unshakable. So when you wonder if you're doing enough, come back to this truth. Your peace is powerful. Your rest is revolutionary. Your gentleness is awakening others. Your boundaries are planting seeds of freedom, and your very existence aligned, surrendered, and full of mace, more than enough. You don't need to be more. You just need to remain. And I'll do the multiplying. My beloved, before you rise from this moment, before you walk back into the noise of life, let me remind you, I'm still here, and I'm still speaking. Not in pressure, not in urgency, but in the whisper that says, you are safe. In the stillness that says, you are held. In the silence that carries my presence more deeply than words ever could. You don't have to strive to stay in this peace. You don't have to fear losing what you found here, because you didn't create this place of rest. I did, and I've made it permanent. This space in my heart, it's yours. Always has been. Always will be. So when the world feels loud, again return. When expectations press in, return. When fear tries to disguise itself as wisdom, return. When your old self tries to reappear and reclaim the space you've cleared, return. not with guilt, not with shame, but with gentle confidence that this place remains, unmoved, unbothered, unshaken. You don't need to hold on to peace. Let peace hold on to you. Let me carry what you keep trying to manage alone. Let me be the rhythm beneath your decisions, the breath between your steps, the stillness in your becoming. Beloved, this was never about perfection. It was always about presence, and presence isn't a moment. It's a relationship. It's me and you, now, again, and again, and again. Even on the days you forget, even when you feel distant, even when your faith feels fragile, I remain. I won't withdraw because you're tired. I won't grow impatient when you waver. I won't punish your pauses. I will stay. I will love. I will lead. So walk from this place not as someone who just heard something good, but as someone who carries something eternal. Carry it in how you speak. Carry it in how you rest. Carry it in how you treat yourself when no one is watching. And when your heart starts to doubt again, when your mind starts to spin, when you ask, was that really real? Remember this: peace is not a moment you stumbled into. Peace is a person who chose to dwell with you. Peace is me, and I'm not going anywhere. Let that truth wrap around your spirit. Let it sit in your chest. Let it become your baseline, not just when things are calm, but especially when they're not. You have nothing to prove. You have nothing to chase. You are already chosen. You are already kept. And no matter how far you wander, I will keep calling you back, not to pressure, not to perfection, but to presence, to peace, to home. You are not alone. You are not late. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are mine, still, always, completely. Amen. If these words met you where you are, let them echo. Whisper, Amen, if you're ready to rest in what you've received. And when the world grows loud again, remember this: you don't have to chase peace. Peace knows your name, and it always knows the way home. My beloved, now that you carry this peace, you may wonder what comes next. Is there a great mission waiting? A bold calling? A big next step? Sometimes yes, but often what comes next looks a lot like what you're already doing. The sacred is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like making tea in the morning with full attention. Sometimes it's answering gently instead of rushing. Sometimes it's choosing presence over productivity. Sometimes it's simply not leaving yourself. You keep expecting me to show up in the thunder, but I'm in the stillness, in the mundane, in the inhale before the task, in the soft yes when no one notices, in the forgiveness that no one will clap for, in the boundaries you set even when they make others uncomfortable. This is the life of someone who walks with me, not loud, not hurried, but woven with intention. You may not even realize it yet, but heaven touches earth when you choose love in the ordinary, when you don't rush your healing, when you see people with kindness even when they don't see you, when you speak softly because your spirit is full, not empty, when you stop apologizing for choosing peace. This is the revolution the world doesn't see coming. And yes, there will be days when you feel small again, invisible, uncertain. But small does not mean insignificant. Invisible does not mean irrelevant. Quiet does not mean weak. I am doing holy work in you through the daily, through the unnoticed, through the moments where your hands are still but your heart is open. That's where the miracles are happening now. Not through striving, but through staying. Not through visibility, but through consistency. So live like it matters, because it does. Your softness is shaping something. Your slowness is anchoring something. Your stillness is revealing something. Let the world chase after more. Let others run ahead. You, beloved, walk with me, and that is enough. My beloved, let's speak truth gently, because I know your heart. There will be days when you forget all of this, days when you fall back into old rhythms, days when anxiety rises louder than peace, days when you feel unsure again, lost again, heavy again. Not because you failed, not because you're broken, but because you're human. And when those days come, a note, but when I want you to know something deep in your bones, I will not be disappointed in you. I won't withdraw. I won't withhold. I won't roll my eyes and say, here we go again. I'll be right here, waiting with love, whispering what's always been true. You can come back now. You can return without shame. You can pause without panic. You can cry without explanation, because nothing in this journey requires perfection. It only requires relationship, and I'm not going anywhere. Even when you distance yourself from me, I never distance myself from you. So when the fog returns, and your thoughts spin, and your old patterns tempt you again, don't spiral. Don't shame yourself. Don't push me away because you feel unworthy. Come back. Come back to stillness. Come back to your breath. Come back to the sound of your own voice, the one that remembers how to say, I'm still loved, even when you feel lost. I don't require a grand return, just a glance, a whisper, a pause. And in that moment, I'll meet you, not to fix you, but to remind you that you were never broken beyond repair. You were never too far. You were never outside my reach. Even when your hands are too tired to reach for me, I reach for you. Because my love doesn't depend on your consistency. It rests on my character. And I am faithful. So don't be afraid of forgetting. Just remember that forgetting doesn't change what's true. And what's true is this: you are mine. Still, again, always. My beloved, let me relieve you of something you were never meant to carry. The pressure to stay spiritually impressive. You don't have to always feel strong. You don't have to always be certain. You don't have to always speak in the language of prayer or praise. You don't have to maintain some imaginary level of holiness to stay close to me. I don't require you to be consistent in expression. I ask only that you be honest in your presence. Come to me quiet. Come to me unsure. Come to me tired, numb, doubting, empty. You don't have to feel spiritual to be with me, because I don't live in your feelings. I live in truth. And the truth is, I never left. Even when you didn't feel me. Even when you questioned everything. Even when you let your journal collect dust and your prayers faded into sighs. I didn't turn away. I didn't tune you out. I didn't love you less. I am not grading your spiritual life. I am holding your whole life. So if today all you can offer is a breath, give it. If all you have is silence, bring it. If your faith is hanging by a thread, wrap it around my hand. I can hold it with you. You don't need to perform to remain in my presence. You just need to stay open. Open to me, not as an idea, but as a safe place, a home, a relationship. You see, what we have is not fragile. What we have is not based on your track record. It's based on my covenant. And my covenant is not breakable. So stop trying to feel spiritual enough to re-enter this space. You're already in it. Stop trying to recreate the mountaintop moment. I'm with you in the valley too. Stop trying to be inspiring. I'm already inspired by your being. You are not more loved when you're consistent. You are not less loved when you're weary. You are just loved. Always. So come as you are. Again, and again, and again. I won't grow tired of you. I won't stop listening. I won't make you earn your place back. This is not religion. This is relationship. And I'm not going anywhere. My beloved, can you feel it? Not all at once, and not in a shout, but gently soft as sunrise, certain as breath. Joy is returning, not the forced kind, not the look happy for others kind, not the momentary rush that disappears when the room clears, but real joy, sacred joy, joy that doesn't need permission to exist. It's been a long time, hasn't it, since joy felt safe, since it felt honest, since it didn't feel like a setup for disappointment. You've been cautious with joy, afraid it would betray you, afraid it would rise just long enough to drop you again. So you chose calm over delight. You chose peace over pleasure. You chose numb over open. And I understand. You weren't wrong for protecting your heart. But beloved, you're safe now. This joy that's returning, it's not here to trick you. It's not shallow. It's not fleeting. It's not dependent on circumstances staying just right. It's rooted in who you are becoming. It's born of alignment, not achievement. It flows from being whole, not being perfect. This joy doesn't ask you to pretend. It doesn't require a mask. It shows up when you laugh at something small, when you breathe deeper without realizing it, when you catch yourself smiling without effort, without fear. Let it rise. Let joy come back to your mornings. Let it slip into your rituals. Let it sit with you in the ordinary. You don't need a reason. Joy is its own reason. Joy is proof that something in you has softened, that the grip of control has loosened, that your spirit has made room not just for peace, but for pleasure, for beauty, for delight, for God-breathed gladness. And no, it doesn't mean everything's easy now. It doesn't mean you won't cry tomorrow, but it means you're no longer afraid to feel again. That is healing. That is strength. That is resurrection. You've carried sorrow with grace. Now let joy surprise you with kindness. It's not here to replace your grief. It's here to sit beside it, to remind you that you were made for more than survival. You were made to rejoice, and I, your God, rejoice over you, even now, especially now. So breathe it in. Let joy be quiet. Let it be slow, but don't ignore it. Don't brush it off like it's not holy, because it is. My beloved, let's slow everything down for a moment. Not just your schedule, but your thoughts, your fears, your expectations, your urgency, because I see it how you still feel the need to hurry up and heal, how you worry you're behind, how you wonder if you've missed something because your pace doesn't look like theirs, how you secretly carry a fear that if you don't move fast enough, something holy might slip away. But let me speak this clearly into your spirit. You don't have to go fast to get it right. You don't have to race to become who you're meant to be. You don't have to force a breakthrough just to prove you're aligned. You don't have to outpace your past to stay ahead of shame. He don't rush you. I don't measure your maturity by your momentum. I don't need you to be quick. I need you to be present. Because presence is where alignment happens. Presence is where peace is born. Presence is where I dwell. And here's what you need to understand. Divine timing is not delayed timing. It's right timing. It's slow enough to build roots, deep enough to be sustainable, wise enough to protect you from what your emotions might rush toward. Sometimes I move in silence, not to hide from you, but to teach you to trust me deeper, to trust that what's meant for you will not require you to sprint, to trust that sacred things don't crumble under stillness, to trust that your pace can be peaceful and powerful at the same time. Beloved, this isn't a race. This is a walk with me. One step at a time, one sacred decision at a time, one faithful exhale at a time. So let them run ahead. Let others build louder. Let the timelines pass you by. You stay rooted. Stay slow. Stay true. You are not missing out. You are not falling behind. You are moving in rhythm with something eternal. And the fruit of this slower path, it will last. It will multiply. It will bless others without burning you. So, no more panic. No more pressure. No more chasing miracles. Let me grow the miracle in you. Let it rise like dawn, not fire. Let it shape you quietly through deep rest, holy rhythm, and the unshakable peace of knowing you're right where you need to be. My beloved, now that you've heard, now that you've felt, now that your spirit has remembered what it always knew, know this: you are not leaving this moment. You are becoming it. You are not walking away from this word. You are carrying it inside you, not as a task, not as pressure, but as presence, the peace that found you here. It's not something to hold on to. It's something that now holds you. The voice you heard today, it wasn't just for now. It's the same voice that will whisper to you tomorrow. When things go quiet again, when the world spins fast again, when your heart feels heavy again, and in those moments, come back, not to perform, not to prove, but simply to rest. Come back to breath. Come back to presence. Come back to me. You don't need a perfect track record. You don't need the right words. You don't need to start over. You just need to stay honest. I will meet you there again and again, in the soft, sacred silence, in the small, unseen decisions, in the slow becoming of who you already are in me. This isn't the end. This is the beginning of living differently. So go forward, not to do more, but to live from what's been done within you. Let your peace speak louder than your performance. Let your joy rise without explanation. Let your gentleness be your greatest authority. And when the world forgets who you are, remember who I said you are. Still mine, still enough, still chosen, still becoming, and always, always, always loved. Amen. If this journey touched something deep in you, whisper Amen in the stillness, or share it softly in the comments, not for applause, but as a witness that peace is possible and presence is enough. Until the next quiet moment, I'll be right here,